Let's jump in. So, guys, welcome. Sawona, Moweni, hello, Mora, Aunt. Nice to see everybody again. And thank you for joining me. I know it's almost the end of the year, and we're getting ready for December, right? We're getting ready for the holidays and for the much-needed time off. So the fact that you're still looking at investing in your property knowledge in November says a lot, and I think it's very cool. So thanks for joining us. This will likely be our last webinar this year. We might do one maybe in December, but really we're going to kick off with a very structured program next year where every month we're going to have 2 webinars, and it's going to follow a sequence. So for my regular comers, thanks for being involved. Today we're talking about remote property investing. By now you do know who I am, but if you don't, these are some of my credentials, and this is a copy of my book, Financial Freedom Through Property, and if you haven't read it, please go and get yourself a copy at Exclusive Books. So let's talk about how to invest in another province. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is why. Why would someone consider investing outside of their province? Because I'll be honest, guys, it's a lot easier to invest in properties within your region. I often tell my students to invest in properties that are driving distance, because especially for your first and second deal, you want to be able to go and see the property, touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it. You know what I mean? Now, the reason why someone might want to invest in a different province would really be about the strategy that they want. Now, certain areas work for certain strategies and certain areas don't work in certain strategies. So really about investing in a different province is because you're trying to find an area where your strategy works. Okay, so tonight's agenda, I'm going to talk about area research. I think that's critical because let's say you want to now invest in the Free State. You need to learn the tips and techniques of how to read the Free State area and know what strategy will work there. Then we're going to look about how can you build and leverage a power team. So who do you need in your power team? How can you vet them? Why they're important? Then we're going to talk about online due diligence. So how can you determine if this is a good deal without actually viewing the property? And then finally, remote management. Now, if you can get these 4 steps right, you're able to invest in any province. Okay. So the first thing is area research. And one of the things that I speak a lot about is that you have to find an area where your strategy works. If you're looking to buy student accommodation and you go into, the suburbs where there is no university within sight, it's obviously not going to make sense, right? Because that area is not working for that strategy. Similarly, if you're trying to do the buy to rent strategy, you have to avoid the suburbs. You can't go to the likes of Greenpoint and Sea Point in Cape Town. You can't do Fourways in Midrand and Constantia in Pretoria. You can't do Umhlanga. You have to go to your lower income, highly dense areas. So when you're considering which province or which area to invest in, number 1 is what's your strategy. Number 2, what area is where your strategy is going to work. Now, unfortunately, I haven't invested in every province, but what I can say is if you're looking for property and you're looking for cash flow, you're looking for good deals, you're looking for variety, Gauteng is really the place you want to be. And also what's nice about Gauteng is it's the most established in terms of its property market. So there's great letting agents, there's great builders, there's great power team members that you can leverage. In the Western Cape, what I see currently, because I've been living here now for a couple of months, is that this is definitely a capital appreciation, student accommodation, and commercial market. So your buy-to-rent, multi-let is probably not going to work so well here unless it's a student accommodation mixture. If you look at sort of Free State and KwaZulu-Natal, cash flow works really well. So it's the multi-let student accommodation market. Unfortunately, I haven't touched any other province particularly, but that's part of your role, right, is to go and figure out what area and what province is going to work best for your strategy. If we look in Joburg, this would be the next level of detail. So we just looked at, a broad spectrum of the provinces. When I'm doing area research, I would go and determine the detail behind each city. Now, this is basically the city of Johannesburg. You got the north, the south, the east, and the west. If you're looking at flipping areas, this is where it's going to work. In your Fourways, Sunning Hill, Woodmead, suburban area, Midrand has got a great flipping economy. And then you're looking at Kempton Park, there by the Oliver Tambo Airport. Those are 3 areas identified as very good flipping areas. If you're looking at the buy to rent or buy to hold strategy, you've got your multi-lets in the east. You've definitely got your buy to lets and multi-lets in the center, CBD of town. You've also got multi-lets in the south. As you guys know, that's where a lot of my investments sit. And then you've got some student accommodation and some more buy to lets areas in the northwest. So depending on the area you want to invest in, and I would recommend all of you guys look at Joburg. If you live in Joburg, that's great. If you don't, I would definitely consider looking at that area because of the financial feasibility of property investment there. So that's number one, area. Get the right area and you're going to win this property game. So what province, within that province, what city, are you going to go north, are you going to go south, are you going to go CBD, are you know, again, start with the strategy, then find the area. Now let's talk about how you're actually going to make this happen and the way you're able to not only invest in property in another province, but manage that property is through a very, very efficient power team. Okay. Now, these are the 9 people that I would recommend you need in your property business to get started. Number 1, a property coach, a property mentor, or some sort of property advisor. Property, as you guys know, is a very expensive asset class, and if you make a mistake, it usually or tends to be a big mistake and a costly mistake. So you want someone who is a coach who's done it before, who's got the experience and can hold your hand through the process. Number 2, you need an estate agent. Now, an estate agent is a loose term. It can be an estate agent from Remax, or it can be a sourcing agent, someone who specifically works for investors. Almost, they're usually referred to as the wholesalers. You know, so there's different ways in which you can source deals, but you need a person that's finding you deals in the market. Next, you need a builder and an architect, or an architect. It depends, you know, if you're going for the flipping strategy, you probably do want to go with an architect because you might need to do some substantial renovations, and then an architect always comes handy. Otherwise, a builder is going to be sufficient. Someone who can do paint, tiling, redo the bathrooms, redo the kitchens, can come with you to view the property so you can get a sense of what the cost might be. Building inspector. That one is the most key person, because the building inspector can go and view the property and tell you what's wrong with the property in detail so that you can skip a flight from Cape Town to Joburg. Right. Accountant, critical. Someone to do your taxes, someone to work your finances. A finance broker, so how are you going to raise financing? Are you going to get a bond originator? Are you going to use private investors? Are you going to go through the traditional banks? You need that person who's going to help you raise that financing. Insurance broker, of course you need someone for insurance. Insurance is obviously, it's like grudge purchase, you know. No one really likes to pay insurance, but I guess it's also important, especially when you start looking at bigger deals, you want to look at insurance. An attorney, right, to do the transfer and to help you deal with all the legal aspects of your business. Now, there are also one more person, which is the letting agent. This is the most important person in your power team. Because if you've got a good letting agent, someone who manages the property on a month-to-month basis, that gives you the freedom to travel. That also gives you the freedom to still live in Durban and invest in Johannesburg. Because if you've got a team in Johannesburg that manages the rentals, does the evictions, organizes the maintenance, collects the rent, all you have to do is provide your monthly banking details to them and they pay you. I mean, obviously you have to, you know, deal with some emails and you'll have to sign off quotes on building costs and, you know, there'll be things that you'll have to make decisions on, but you won't be actively involved. Now, in terms of a local team, what I mean by local team is who of these 9 people need to be local to the area? These are the 4 people that need local knowledge. Your estate agent has to be in the area you want to invest in. Your builder has to be in the area, inspector and letting agent. Those are the 4 people that you have to find within Joburg to invest in Joburg, for instance. The other 5, your property coach, finance broker, accountant, insurance broker, and attorney, can be nationwide. So what that means is you can have your coach in Cape Town, your accountant in Pretoria, your attorney in the Free State, your insurance broker in the Northwest, and your finance broker in Limpopo. So that's what it basically means, is that the 4 people you need to be local, which are the 4 at the bottom. The top 5 can be national. So let's quickly understand what each one is and how you can vet them to make sure that they're the right fit for your team. So first of all, the property coach. The property coach is there to educate you, motivate you, and help you or hold you accountable to making a decision, right? The reason you want a coach is because they've done it before. The reason why you want a personal trainer is because they've got the body you desire and they obviously know how to get there. So when you are looking and reviewing at your selection of different coaches, firstly, what I would say is avoid anyone who says they are just a general property coach. Now, what I mean by that is property is such a broad field, and you might be interested in something like flipping or wholesaling or multi-lets. You want to find a property investor that doesn't have experience in property but has experience in the strategy you're looking for. So for instance, I wouldn't take on a student that wants to do the wholesaling strategy because although I've done it once or twice, it's not a focus for me. So I don't have the best practice to be able to teach someone the wholesaling process. But if you're looking for multi-lets, well, that's what I specialize in. If you like multi-lets in the South, I'm your guy to speak to. So when you're considering a property coach, understand what strategy you want, what area you're focusing on, and then find an investor who's had success in that area with that strategy. So it needs to be specialized. I would definitely ask you to check references, so find out the contact details of their past students and see what their past work or testimonials look like. So you definitely want to get some references of past students. I would like to see proof. If I was getting a coach and I was going to pay a coach a large amount of money, I would want to see some, a case study of a good deal, a case study of a bad deal. I'd like to see some proof of the deals and the transactions that the person's doing. And then finally, there needs to be a personality fit, right? So you might meet a coach that's got everything in terms of the technical skill, but you guys don't see eye to eye on an emotional level. I wouldn't choose that person as your coach because the coach's role is to hold you accountable. And you're only going to be held accountable by somebody that you trust, right? Number two, the estate agent. What do? Well, they help you find deals. They negotiate for the seller and they negotiate you to the seller. And also, if you're looking to resell your property, an estate agent's a great source for you to resell. Now, when you're picking an estate agent, here are some top tips. Firstly, set clear expectations up front. What does that mean? Whenever I meet an estate agent, when I phone them or email or meet them in person, I immediately say, guys, I'm an investor. I'm going to come in at a 20% discount 9 times out of 10. It's always a financial decision. I never really look at it emotionally. Are you okay with that? So I set the expectation up front that I'm an investor looking for distressed, motivated sales. I'm going to offer a discount. I don't mean to offend you, but that's the game that I'm playing. I'm not a first-time buyer. And then fire quickly. If you find an estate agent that seemed nice in the beginning, but actually isn't bringing you deals or isn't doing the work you expect, fire them. And when I say fire them, just ignore them, move on to the next person. You need to look for mutual long-term benefits. So, you want to partner with someone that's going to be in your journey for the next 10 years because you want to be able to trust this person. They need to know exactly what your deal risk appetite is, what area you're looking at, what returns, what strategy, and you need to coach them so that they understand what it is you're looking for. They need to understand the area, so ask them questions about the area, what are good, bad, medium areas to invest in. Try and find someone who's focused and has worked with investors before. If they haven't worked with investors before, they're probably going to get frustrated with your discounted offers, and they're not going to, let's call it play ball. And then finally, efficient. This one I found to be probably the most important point. When I'm looking at an area like Berea and I find a deal, I'll send an email to the estate agent asking them for certain things like proof of income, proof of expense, a COJ bill, maybe annual financials of the building, all of these things that I need to understand and do due diligence on the property. And the guy won't reply for like a week, right? That's not an estate agent that I want to work with. If I request information, I want the estate agent to reply within 24 hours. And if they don't do that, they're not efficient. Remember, the good deals go quickly. So if your bottleneck is with your estate agent, you're going to lose out on a lot of deals. Builder and architect. So what role do they play? Right, they renovate, they repair, they get involved with new builds or any kind of maintenance work. Some tips when you're selecting a builder. References and past work. So you want to go and see some of the renovations they've done before. And also you want to make sure that they're certified. So just write down the NHBRC. That is the certification that a builder needs in South Africa to legally practice. So just make sure that they have that certification. Check some past work or visit projects. I definitely like to do that. So if they currently at a construction site, meet them there and see what they're capable of doing. Especially when you're working with a new builder, I would go to Builder's Warehouse and just go and confirm their material costs. So they might provide you with a quote for materials and labor. I would just go to Builder's Warehouse and confirm that the quotes that they're giving me is accurate, just so that I feel a little bit more trust. And then again, fire quickly. That's going to be a continuous theme, guys. This is your property business. You don't need to work with anybody. You want to work with the right people. And if somebody's not treating you right or treating you well, fire them, move on. The easy come, easy go. Building inspector. Now this is an important one. They determine the building's condition and they can estimate repair costs. This is the person that you want so that you don't have to go and view the property. Okay. Now tips when selecting. Firstly, make sure that they're independent of contractors. I've had building inspectors come and tell me that the entire plumbing of the building needs to be redone because they're trying to get business for their plumbing friend. So I want a independent, impartial estimate on the building, not someone trying to help their buddy who is a builder with some business, right? Detailed and efficient, and they need to be certified with the NABISA. That's for the building inspectors in South Africa. So again, as long as they are regulated and they're certified, I would give them a try. Accountant. Your accountant should provide you with monthly numbers, so how have your deals done, some tax advice, and also you start looking at trusts and wealth protection with this person. Tips, simple. They need to be flexible, they need to be able to work on your schedule. You don't want to be working with someone like a KPMG, they're just a massive organization. You want to work with an accountant that works with entrepreneurs, that is easy to reach, easy to chat with, and knowledgeable, right? So just make sure you've got a good accountant. I've got somebody that I could recommend. He's based out in Pretoria. Great guy. Finance broker. Now, your finance broker is the person who's helping you with favorable terms. Now, favorable, what I mean by that is that they get you good loan to values and decent interest rates, so prime plus one over a 20-year period from different institutions. So you want to be very specific with your finance broker as to what kind of terms and conditions you want. Now, these people will help you find finance for deals, for renovations, or if you decide to go into development. A big tip that I would say is get a good bond originator. What a bond originator does is they will go on your behalf to all the banks and they will fight with the banks to get you the best interest rate. So it's good to use a bond originator and you don't pay for it. The bank or the finance institute actually pays for it. Did you know that there are over 50 registered banks in South Africa? Banks like Mercantile, Tough, Combined Finance, Sentinel Homes, Mercantile. I don't know all of them by heart, but there are so many different financial institutions. So if the 5 big banks say no to your deal, maybe open yourself up to other types of financing and see if you can't get the deal across the line. When working with private investors, please make sure that you've got good legal representation. So you need to have good terms and conditions and good agreements in place signed on both sides so that you protect yourself and the investor. And equally with joint partnerships, when you're looking at using other people's money, just make sure everything's in writing. If you're partnering with someone and they're bringing more capital than you, make sure it's all written somewhere and signed off so that, God forbid things go badly, at least you guys know how to exit the deal. The insurance broker. Now, insurance, no one likes to pay and pay for insurance. If you're looking at property investing, I would say there are 3 key insurances you need to look for. Your building insurance is insuring the cost of the building to be redone. That one is a must. If you're looking at the multi-let market and you're buying a block of flats, please get building insurance, because if that block burns down or something tragic happens, at least your insurance provider will pay for it. Content insurance is insuring the contents within the house. So you might have a kitchen with a washing machine and a fridge, and you want to insure those inside elements. That's only applicable if you're doing like the Airbnb strategy, right, where you're renting out a fully furnished property. If you're just renting out a room or a unit, you probably don't need that. And then rental insurance, there's lots of great providers out there that will insure your rent for 3 months, and will also pay for the eviction costs. So go check out Expello. I think they're a pretty good provider. I haven't used them myself, but yeah, there's some great products there. When looking at selecting, it needs to be price and coverage. So how much are they charging and what are they covering? And you just got to find the person that's giving you the best deal, to be honest. Attorneys. Okay, your attorney, your legal person. Offer to purchases, partnership agreements, lease agreements, evictions, anything legal, this is your man or your person. When selecting the person, number one, try and do repeat business with one attorney, because if you can bring them multiple deals, you can start to negotiate the transfer fees. You know, you can start to negotiate the fee they charge you for doing the transfer, because if you're bringing them bulk, they're obviously getting regular work, which is good for them. Number two, make sure that you go to the attorney specialized for whatever it is that your legal need is. So don't use a divorce attorney to do an eviction, for example. If you've got an eviction problem, work with an eviction specialist. If you want to do a transfer, work with a conveyancing attorney. Make sure that whatever the attorney you're using is specialized in the legal challenge that you have. And then finally, the letting agent. They do the management of tenants, rentals, maintenance, evictions. These are my favorite people in the property game, because if they're in the right position and they manage your business properly, all you do is you sit back, relax, you let the money flow in. If they're not managed properly or they're not doing their job, this is the biggest nightmare and headache, because you have to do it yourself. When selecting, make sure that the price matches the services. So for instance, I've got a letting agent that charges me 8% on the rental, but they do everything. They manage tenants, they market the property, they do the TPN reports to do credit checks on the tenants, they vet them, they evict them, they maintain the property, they do everything. For 8%, I don't think that's too bad. So you need to make sure that the price makes sense, but also that the services they cover is what you want. Again, references, and this one, most importantly, fire very quickly. If you have a bad experience for 3 months, fire them, go somewhere else. Okay, because it's a competitive market and there are lots of players in the game. And if somebody's going to not treat you or treat your business with the priority that it deserves, go to somebody else. Okay, so that was a look at your power team, the 9 most important people that you need in your property business to be able to leverage their skills, their time to invest wherever it is that you want. The next step is, we've found our area, we've got our power team. Now we need to actually do due diligence on a property that is 1,000 kilometers away. Okay, and the key thing about due diligence is that your outputs are only as good as your inputs. The return on investment calculation that you determine on a deal is only as good as the inputs you've given it. So due diligence and making sure you've got the right numbers in the inputs are very important. So my recommendation here is, we are a digital world. And COVID has reminded us that digital is possible and it's something we should be focusing on. So let's figure out how we can do all of the due diligence without ever leaving our apartments or our houses. And that's what I'm going to show you now. It's very exciting. So online due diligence, these are some of the steps that I would take when analyzing a deal. First of all, I want to see proof of income, proof of expense. Right? Those are my 2 inputs. My input is income, my other input is expense. Input minus expense equals cash flow. So I need to see proof of my 2 inputs so that I know that my output is successful. Then I would get a building inspector in to go and do the viewing and give me a report of how the property looks. Do some area research, so pull a TPN or a Lightstone report to understand the area if I haven't been there before. Run the numbers, question the tenants, and then finally review all the inspections, review all the reports, and make a decision. Okay, so those would be the steps that I would recommend when looking at an investment. Now let's see how you can do this all online. Here's an example of a deal that some of you might know that me and Thierry are currently working on. I think I did mention this a couple of webinars ago. But yeah, it's a block of 9 units in Turffontein in the south. Very cool investment, and we're moving forward with it. So I thought, let's do a quick case study of this multi-let investment, which I've been able to purchase in Johannesburg, even though myself and Thierry both live in Cape Town. And I'll just take you through essentially how we did that. So first of all, the deal came through Property 24. And as soon as I saw this deal on Property 24, I emailed the estate agent and I said, this is great. Do you have proof of income? Do you have proof of expense? Within a couple of minutes, she replied to me, and I knew that it was working with a very good estate agent, because that doesn't happen very often. So the estate agent, she sent me a rent roll, which is essentially rental proof, some sort of statement of the monthly rent. And I also got her annual financial statements on this building, and I was able to correlate the revenue in 2020 with the monthly rent roll, and it all tallied up. So this is a great example of, not having to actually see the property, but to know with confidence what the income level is. Then it's proof of expenses. That was the second thing that Tanya, the estate agent, sent. So a utility bill. This is from the city of Johannesburg, the COJ bill. Every municipality will have a different name for it. And this basically tells me rates and taxes, water and electricity, sewage and utilities. So these are the majority of my expenses. Power bill, so depending how the deal is structured, if it's a prepaid electricity or not, you might get a power bill. And then an insurance bill, so you can see here that this specific block is currently charging about 1.5 thousand Rand in insurance, to insure the building. Now I need to go and understand, is that building, contents and rental insurance? Okay, it's only a building insurance, so what are they covering? Go to my, another broker and see if they can compete with that quote, so that starts to become the negotiation. The next is the building inspector. So I've got the income, I've got the expense, I've got my inputs now. Now I can start to work out, what's the condition of this property? Now, with this specific deal, I did fly through. Me and Thierry both flew down to Joburg. It's a 2,000 Rand flight. It's not the end of the world, because we wanted to go and view the property. But if you don't want to view the property, you don't even want to leave the province, get a good building inspector. I use this team called Gauteng Property Inspectors. They work really well in the Gauteng area. The lady who did the inspection, Marissa, you can see at the bottom of this document, NABISA. That's the certification to say they are certified as a building inspector, very important. And she gave us a 4-part detailed report. I think it's roughly about 100 pages that she sent us. She literally went into every single room and took photos of every single little scratch or mistake. And she told us exactly what was going on. So on the bottom right, you can see that she went onto the roof. She showed us where there's some potential damp issues. She looked at the plumbing. She looked at the bathrooms. She looked at the doors and the gates. She looked at the windows. And any time there was something, even a small scratch, she took a photo and let us know. Guys, I mean, this is more than enough detail, right? You really don't need to go and view the property. As long as you have a nice detailed report of this, you send it to your builder or to your contractor, they can give you a cost estimate of how much the renovations might cost, and then you've got a very good input for your renovation costs, right? Next, questioning the tenants, or interviewing the tenants, as I sometimes call it. So we've seen the income, we've seen the expense, we know the condition of the property, we feel confident. Now you maybe want to get the numbers of 2 or 3 of the tenants and phone them and say, okay, cool, how long have you stayed there, right? How long have all the people stayed there? You want to get a sense of, are they long-term tenants or are they short-term tenants? Are you employed? If so, for how long and where? This is just to get an understanding of what the risk is. If someone says, no, actually, I haven't been employed, me and my partner, I haven't been employed for the last 2 weeks, you start asking yourself, okay, cool, so how are you intending to pay, next month when I become the owner of this property? So you're just wanting to get a sense of the risk. Anything you want to change, very important question. It makes the tenants feel like you care, which you do, obviously. But they also are a lot more honest about renovation costs than estate agents. Estate agents might say, no, the property's in good condition, you don't have to worry. Whereas a tenant would say, you know what, there's a problem with the plumbing, or this tile is broken, because for them, they just want to get things fixed. So it's a nice way for you to make sure you've got your bases covered in terms of what the renovations are. Do you feel safe? If your tenant doesn't feel safe, it means you may be investing into a riskier area or a high-risk red zone area. Would you recommend your friend to live here? If the answer is no, there's something wrong with the building, and you need to find out why. Because people would only not recommend something that they are unsatisfied or unhappy with. Right, then you can start pulling some area reports, getting your TPN, your light stones. I'm not going to go into the detail of TPN. I do have a bunch of videos on YouTube around, reading these different reports. just make sure you pull a TPN report. You understand the rentals, the delinquency rate, the escalation rate. You understand the sort of the trends in terms of the property transactions, and you'll be more than enough, or more than knowledgeable enough. Now that you've got all of your information, you can now run the numbers. You can take all the inputs, your income, your expenses. You can work out your cash flow, annualize that, divide it by the money you've invested in the deal, get your return on investment. So it's your gross yield, return on investment, rate of return, exit strategy. That's what you need to do. So with ELOF Court, the income is 35,700, the expenses 29, cash flow or profit of 6,700 per month, with a nice 16% ROI. And that's after all provisions, paying the managing agent, paying the vacancy, the water, the electricity, everything. That's just the profit for Thierry and myself. And that's why, guys, investing in another province makes a lot of sense, because there are areas where you can get great cash flow deals. Not in Cape Town, for instance, but it's very possible as a Cape Townian or as a Durbanite to invest in another province. Right, after you've done all your due diligence and you feel confident, you can then sign an offer to purchase with some exit clauses, and then you use that to raise financing. So here, this is the email we send to Combined Finance, which is a financier that finances multi-lets. And that's how we've done this deal completely remotely, other than the one flight that me and Terry had to the property. Now here is where the winning recipe comes, or this is where the deal either wins or loses, succeeds or fails. The managing agent. If you've got a poor managing agent, you're going to lose. What I would recommend is you need to avoid this, the one-man band syndrome. So if you've got a letting agent who wants to manage your property, make sure that they've got a team, that it's not just them. It's not just one man that is going to go and try and do everything that a letting agent would do. Rather find a reputable person or a reputable company that has all the resources. What do I mean by that? Well, guys, the point of getting a letting agent is to be able to have freedom to sip cocktails looking at a beach. You want to be able to build a letting agent team that manages your property so that you can be traveling, you can be anywhere you want in the world, and you're just getting that passive rental. Okay, so how do we make sure that is a success? Some key points. Firstly, your management team must not be a one-man band. It must be a team of dedicated specialists. So they need to have a builder or maintenance division. They need to have an attorney and an eviction process. They need to make sure that they've got the right systems and tools of following up with tenants who are in arrears. Right? They need to have a team of people, because it takes a team to run a business. The management fee, so that 10% that they're going to charge you, must be linked to the rent they collect in that month. Because if they don't collect rent, they shouldn't get paid. Their business interest should be our business interest. So if we're going to be making money from rental, they're only going to be making money from rent collected. Okay. And then finally, they must have the tools and the systems. So if they're using Excel or they're a one-man band, guys, I would walk away. Rather use a reputable company or a reputable team. I can happily introduce you to people. Again, my specialization is in Joburg. And again, this is why having a coach is so important, because your coach will have all the local team members in his area of specialization, and also will have all the insights in the different strategies. So that was quite a lot in a short space of time. If you guys remember that previously I spoke about just shortening these webinars a little bit, making them 40 to 45 minutes as opposed to the traditional hour, because I understand that it is quite late after a long day of work. But that was essentially my advice on how you can get started in investing in another province. Step one, find the area and the strategy that you're going to focus on, be it in Gauteng or in the Northwest or in Mpumalanga, wherever it may be. Make sure that you've got a good power team. Get those 9 people on board. Make sure that you've got your consultants, your attorneys, your accountants, your builders, everything. It might take a couple of months to set up, but you'll be very, very grateful when it is set up. And then number 3, find your online tools to do all your due diligence. Get to a point where you don't actually have to leave the province to invest. And then, finally, make sure that you're enjoying it along the way and that you're doing deals where your management agent is really giving you the freedom that you want. So just to end off, I wanted to share with you guys a new solution, a new product that I'm trialing. So a lot of people have come to me saying that they want to do a partnership deal with me. where we buy a block of flats together. And at first I was against this, but I've actually started to see a lot more opportunity in leveraging other people's money through the partnership model. So if you are interested in working with me on a deal, just go check out the website, lawrencebull.com/partnerships. And there's a form that you need to fill out. Unfortunately, I won't work with anyone that doesn't have cash available, because that's what I'm currently needing. So I've got the deals and the power team, but I need partners who are cash rich, so that I can use their money to pay the deposit, and in turn do a great deal together. So go check it out. There is a partnership option where we do a joint venture, but there's also a sourcing option. So if you have an interest in buying a building in the south or in Berea or whatever area that I'm specializing in, I can happily source you a deal. So find a below market value deal, do the negotiation, sign off the purchase for you, get it secured, and then once you've successfully bought that property, you can pay me a finder's fee, so to speak. So if that speaks to you, if that's something that you're interested in, go check out that link and just fill in the form. I'll get back to you. For those of you who are interested in knowledge over this next festive season, I do want to let you know that we are having a nice big discount off our property, the Property Bootcamp College. If you haven't heard about it, it's our online course where we talk about how to invest in buy-to-lets, multi-lets, and flips. www.propertybootcamp.co.za. Just go and check at the bottom of the website. You'll see that there is a nice discount, a 30% early bird discount. So go check that out and get access to all of our different courses about investing strategies, legals, raising finance, all of those things. So go check out our courses. Make sure that you get yourself involved. Okay, nice and short. It is 22, and now I'm going to open the floor for some questions. Let's have a look here. Okay, Shahida, please touch on who should be in your power team. Please provide recommendations for these members. How regularly do an investor need to visit the site? Any other practicalities also would be appreciated. How do I find which province would be best? So Shahida, to answer your question, how often would you need to go and visit the investment? I would say every 6 months. So all of the multi-lets that I do in the south, I'll go and look at those every 2 months, every 6 months. That would be more than enough time, I think. In terms of what province is best for you, I would say, I mean, I know I'm biased. I keep saying Johannesburg, and maybe you're a bit frustrated by that, but it's just, that's the area that I know really well, and that's the area that I've been doing a lot of investments, and I know that the deals are good there. So if you're looking at flipping as a strategy, you can do that anywhere. Flipping works anywhere. So does wholesaling. Wholesaling works anywhere. Your rental market is where things get tricky. So you can invest in KZN if you know the areas which are low income, where the rental hasn't escalated, but the capital hasn't escalated as much, and the gross yield is over 15%. So it's more about, I would say, try and find an area within your province, especially for the first deal that you're doing. But if you're struggling to find it, I would recommend Joburg, definitely, or Gauteng. Let's put it that way. Ntombi, how much is the minimum property investment? Which province is the best to invest in? So the minimum property investment, Ntombi, I mean, it depends on the deal that you're looking at. If you're looking in town, in Berea CBD, you're looking at 200,000 for a 2-bedroom. I would think that's probably relatively almost the minimum that you can invest, unless you're looking in maybe in a township setting. There might be properties that are slightly cheaper there. Which province is best to invest in? I would again say it depends on your strategy, but try and stay as close to local as possible. So if you're in the KZN area, try start there and then branch out to Joburg once you've got some experience. Kutso, how to overcome challenge of viewing the property that comes outside the province. So all about that building inspector, and make sure that they register with the NABISA. Okay, is Berea a good area to invest in? I saw some flats for 100K, which is perfect for a student. So yes, Berea is a good area to invest in, but there are also bad deals in Berea. My recommendation is don't go for a deal under 250. The properties that are under 250,000 in Berea tend to be in bad condition or tend to be in a very bad building. The second thing is, when you're investing in Berea, make sure you're getting a loan from a bank, because the bank is going to go and do a lot of due diligence on that block. They're going to check the insurance and the financials, and if they're not happy with the building, they're not going to loan you the money. So that's just an added layer of due diligence for you. So yes, Berea is good, but I wouldn't go for the cheapest options. I would go for the 250 to 350,000 rand mark. And if the estate agent says cash only, run away, because that's a building that's most likely been hijacked. And the reason they say cash only is because the banks won't touch them. And if the banks won't touch them, you shouldn't. Good. So how to obtain the cap rate in that area through area research. So, I mean, it's a tough one to answer. I would say you can use averages on Property 24. It's probably not the most reliable thing, and I think that's where the coach comes in handy. So, Kutso, I know that you're one of our students. If there's a specific province or area that you want to know the cap rate in, just send me a WhatsApp and I'll help you out. Okay, what if it's a new development? So I'm not sure if I understand that question, Claudine. What if it's a new development? Do you want to maybe just ask that again, because I'm not sure what the question is? Winnie, when you are just starting out on your property investing journey, who should you have on your team due to lack of finances? So, Winnie, one of the great things about property is that the banks and people in general love to loan on properties. So I would, if I was you, I would try the wholesaling strategy. That's where you buy or you negotiate a good deal with an estate agent, and then you sell that transaction off to a seasoned investor for a fee. So you essentially play the middleman between a distressed seller, and an investor. You bring the two together. You make sure the deal goes through, and you get a profit, or you get a commission off that transaction. It requires no capital. It just requires a bit of time. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Rory, can you provide more information on the one-on-one coaching option? Yeah. So Rory, what I'm just going to do here, because I think we've got a page for that. Let me just copy it into the chat bar there. If you are interested in the property one-on-one coaching, that would be with myself. We go through 6 dedicated sessions, but all the information is there on that link that I've just shared. Otherwise, guys, it's 6:45. I think we made it in good time. Thank you for being here once again. If there are any more questions, you're welcome to quickly pop them in the chat bar, and I will still answer them. But if you want to get on with the rest of your night, go do some dinner and spend some time with your loved ones, you're welcome to. Thank you for being here. And until next time, happy investing.